come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. And yes, I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And as usual, this Wednesday is my colleague.
Hi, I'm Terri-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator. Happy to be here.
And Terri-Ann, yesterday, we celebrated, Trinidad and Tobago celebrated independence, the 59th year.
Yes,
So Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
So Trinidad and Tobago in the 50 plus category.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're about to retire.
Yes, 50 plus category. So things have, we're looking at things differently. And actually, we thought for, this independence time, we should really discuss us as 50 plus, the 5.8G tribe,
yes,
about independence, Terri-Ann, preparing what? To be independent?
Yes, I would
preparing
say,
for independence. Which one is it?
I would say both of them are equally important and valid. What does independence mean to us going forward on this third act stage? That's a very important discussion.
Definitely. I was thinking, Terri-Ann, when I thought independence, and yesterday I say, okay, am I really independent? Actually, I pride myself all the time of being an independent woman, making my decisions and moving along without really much input, from others.
Mm-hmm.
But when, I sat down and said, Jennifer, are you really independent? And somehow as I move in past 50s, past 60s, and looking at the 70s, I say, you know what? This is a serious question, because I see like the independence moving away from me. And I may be getting more dependent as against being independent. So really, I thought this is nice for us to discuss this evening, Terri-Ann, about being independent on the third act stage, because I see it different. Like life is different now. What I considered independence, then you're wondering if you could carry that through to the third act stage. And this is interesting.
Or even if you can't carry it through the third act stage, I ask myself, and I've always asked myself, is who gave this definition of what independence is? And is independence our objective, or is it interdependence or dependence? And I think at different stages, different things matter to you. So
I agree. I always thought, I never looked at interdependence so much, but more, independent. This thing about independent woman, and but
independence is hard work,
I know.
And it's
but somehow you feel like you're in charge of your life.
And I don't know who made us think that is a desirable goal, because we're talking as women, Jennifer. But even when we look at men, let's take the view of a man. Men are said to be independent because they may be powerful people, major breadwinners and influential positions and stuff. But most men have an alpha female or someone or some system that is supporting their life outside of the limelight that they are extremely dependent on, And without it, they can't go back in the limelight. So, you know, sometimes you really have to check where these notions coming from.
Very notion.
It brings reason.
So let's look at, as you brought in the men. So let's chat, both men and women. So this is not a woman thing or a man thing. This is an agent thing. This is getting onto the third act stage. So we all on the third act stage right now, including Trinidad and Tobago.
And remember, we have 3 stages on the stage. There's 50 to
Right.
60, 60 to 70, and 70 to 80. And the definition of whether you are dependent, interdependent,
Yeah.
or independent, how it looks is very different where you are.
Agree.
You know, and we need
So-
to check what is driving the conversation.
So what we could look at, Terri-Ann, in addition with those 3 stages, you know, we at Connections 50 Plus, and on this show, we also look at 3 buckets.
Yeah.
So let's put this discussion, independence,
Context.
interdependence, you know, dependence into the context of financial, self-care and community.
Good. So, Jen,
Right? So we could discuss it
pause
like that.
and go. So the first area is being dollar savvy with
Yes.
independence. All right, Jen. So we started to talk about being independent,
Yeah.
interdependent, or dependent. We have a concept of being dollar savvy, and you're a financial coach. So when we think of the 50 5.8G cohort, this is 5.8G alive.
Yeah.
If we are to be dollar savvy, there's not a lot that we can do to change where we are, but going forward, what is being dollar savvy in this independence, interdependence, dependent celebration?
I would say being able, and this, I'm saying this, understanding, especially in COVID. So before, if we were financially independent, we really may not be in the same position now. But I look at that for dollar savvy, I would say to be financially independent, it means being able to not being in debt, if I could say it like that, not being in debt, being able to meet your current expenses and still have some money saved for that rainy day. You know, also you can, and again, would be preparation. So you're not just dealing with the 50s to be comfortable and really be financially independent. I would think that you look down the line, we do it 5.8G, but it's not just in the 80s, we could go into 90s.
Yeah.
So preparation, we should be able to have put things in place to take us through to the 90s, you know? But Terri-Ann, it's easier said than done.
Jennifer, let me ask you a question, and I'm drawing on your experience.
Yeah.
If we look at financial readiness for later life, the industry and the business that takes care of that is the insurance industry, whether it is life insurance, term insurance, annuities to arrange pensions or health. You have been a senior practitioner in that industry for many years. So you have a very, very good sense of how we in this generation, this 5.8G, 30 and 40 years ago, would have put down roots. Based on what you see, can you say that we generally have prepared?
I would say no, and I'm saying no, and I even take it beyond the insurance industry more to say the financial sector.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the financial institutions and they do, you know, do have programs that to help you plan for the future. But I recall some years ago, not too long ago, Central Bank did a survey. They did a whole, they had some data out showing that very few persons really plan for retirement. I don't have the exact info, but it's easy to go up on the central bank side and look at that data. And that data will reveal maybe just about 20%, I wouldn't even say 25, about 20% really plan the way they should for retirement. Coming back, yes.
I also know that there was a statistic done, and it may have been related to that, in that most people did not have 3 months of savings.
That's true. That's true.
Did not
it
have.
It also showed up the different type of statistics. And I would say, because it's not blame game, but you know, when you're not being taught a certain way from early, from it in the school system, etc., even at home, then you are not convinced that that is the right thing for you. Because I recall my days of on the field, and yes, we had the annuities, the pension plans. That was even the reason many people took it wasn't because of the planning for the future, was taxes. Yeah. So we actually, and I'm being honest then, to convince them that they need to save for the future, we had to add that little tax break onto it and show them, you know, you could do that, but you're getting back the money. And it wasn't really a true fact that they're getting back all the money, but it was a way of helping them to think that way. And even then, you know, you would get the response that, especially in under 50s, you know, say, you have plenty years ahead, because that time you're thinking of, you want to change your car. It's all about, you know, looking to buy a home, acquiring things, everything else, because you don't have that vision of yourself reaching where we are today. So that I would say kind of blocked that way of thinking. And even within, and we know that with what we do, Terri-Ann, that even with companies tend to start their retirement programs and things within the same year that people leave in. By the time they do call us to do our transition and retirement program, it's because the people in the last year. So you have to change in that, sometimes in the last few months, you have to change that mindset and say, listen, you see that money you're getting? You have to stretch for the next 30, 40 years. So it's a change of mindset. And now when we're talking about moving forward from where we are, to still we have 30 years. Some of us have 30, some have 20, we have 10, but we have years to go. And we ask ourselves, are we really financially independent? Do we really have sufficient money to go through a crisis like this? But even when you look at, you may have those savings, but your expenses may not have been as high, and it could still last 9 months. Think of those who had to
finish. So I'm making that point that most people didn't do that. So if we had to ask a question now, in this time, where are we as a cohort based on we're not independent?
I would say
we could agree on that.
At this stage, I will honestly say, no, I thought I was. Now we're looking in this context and moving forward, I would say no. I would like to say yes, but to be truthful, no.
But the other thing, Jennifer, I'm seeing, and I wonder if you're seeing a lot of it too, that there is a new kind of dependency growing, where we, because all the money done, are dependent on children who are now unemployed and have no money, and grandchildren. So there's a whole dependency in families that is clinging on little, because even if there was a business in the family, the business has been closed for a very long time. If there was someone self-employed, if someone is working in any service, whether you're employed in a restaurant, the only people who probably got saved were civil servants. And then that civil service salary had to stretch. So what is this dependence that we find ourselves
You know, when we started and we actually had to change the meaning of independence, I think now we have to change what we mean by being independent and dependent and all that. I think we may have to remove those words, those terms, and say, listen, this is a reality check here, you know, in moving forward. Many of us, especially those who may be in the 70 plus or late 60s, may not be in the workplace again, or even if you were entrepreneurs. Yeah. Even if you were entrepreneurs, you know, everybody now, you know, things are very slow. There was a time that we thought, and I'm saying we, my cohort, my age group, thought that after we educate or set, even if we set the children right, when you reach this age, then hey, if you fall short, it is their responsibility to help you. That's no more. You would like to think so, even they would like to think so, but
yeah, it's
no longer like that. So my suggestion now, Terri-Ann, is for all of us, whether you have a family or not, and we're looking at your financial situation here, is to come together, go back to the, as we say, to the drawing board, really look at present situation, dreams again, because we have to relook maybe if you weren't in business, you have to be in business now. And, you know, we went through that whole, you know, gamut about being in business, etc. But we need to relook, pull skills together, and that house that you have there, that family home, you may have to look at it, because it's a reality. A lot of the younger couples going back home, you know.
Back in the other endance, and it is interdependence.
So things like you may no longer be able to continue living. This is the young couples on their own. But when you come back home now, let's decide how we are doing it. You know, because you don't want, you know, there's a saying, and I have to say this, don't want to live one on top of the other.
And it's not just young couples, Jen. It's a lot of people who live
you
singly.
may have to think of coming together and deciding, look, are we expanding our home, our family home, to accommodate two other families? Are we then, in doing that, are we going to make joint groceries, shop jointly? Are we going? Then we have all these discussions. You have to set up a garden. We spoke about all these things. So I think this is time now, not about saying, you know, be independent, children gone, everybody out of the house, so you're good. We have to really look at these things, because I don't think many of us can sustain our lifestyle and our spending habits to have the kind of reserve that we need for when we don't have that energy, and when we have to maybe pay somebody to take care of us.
And I think, Jennifer, if we have a family situation and a family home, that's great. It means that at least you have something to start with. Yes. But there are so many single people who don't have that base, where siblings live in different parts of the world. Parents may have died, and there may be one individual here, probably a divorced person, probably a widowed person, because we're talking about our age group. But there are so many reasons why we are now, after our working life, professional life, or whatever it is, career, living alone. It could be in a house that we inherited, got in the divorce, or built for ourselves. And we may have had sorts of children and grandchildren. And now we're here with no family to get back together with. It's even harder to think of, all right, how can I live interdependently with friends?
Yeah.
With friends, how can I share the resources? Because we can't do it on our own. But looking down the road, and here people be talking about the you've left the workplace. You don't have that
Yeah.
magic salary at the end of the month. You got the lump sum and you're on pension, whatever the pension is. You're 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and you're still vibrant. But you know that the life that you're living, where you are living, in 5-10 years time, you cannot continue to maintain it, especially in the inflationary cycle that we are anticipating, you know. So this interdependence thing, both from a perspective of family and a perspective of a single person with commitments, is, where's the money going to come from, Jen?
You know where the money coming from, and I don't look at it. When you start to crunch figures, and I remember you when you sent me back thinking when I was in the field, you used to crunch figures, future value and present value, and all the fancy projections. And when you do that future value, you say, this when you thought was 50,000, it's 300,000, this sort of thing, depending on how you project it. Now, I wouldn't, and this is my personal view, and we remember we are looking at the stage we're at. I wouldn't confuse, you see those dollars being dollar savvy right now, and not putting any future value and all that in my dollars.
No.
What I'm doing now is looking at situation and what I have, and it may not be money in the bank. Because many of us, as you said, the money done, we sort of used up. Many of us have used up our little savings, and we live in month to month and whatever is coming in. But I would look at the assets that I have now. I know my plan down the road. My plan down the road is to live happy and healthy and to be able to survive, okay? And not be dependent on anybody. So to do that, I have an idea of how I want to live. If and we are looking now at the person who may be single or widowed or
even that family group.
Or my decision would be, okay, if I have a home, then you look at maybe you either dividing it, whatever, make a family decision or personal decision, whether I want to now bring in someone to share with me, splitting the house in 2 or 3 and have others sharing, where we can put up and you still have your independent space. And I remember at some show we spoke about that. Yeah. So you look at that. Then you start to look at other assets, Terri-Ann. We have to sell out some assets, you know. In your financial planning and retirement planning, one of the things we looked at is assets, what you're keeping and what you're selling. And you look at the time to win, because listen to me, people are buying different things.
Yep.
You know,
it's
so
really the mindset. You're 50 plus, and you have to. But Jennifer, I'm looking at time, and the good news, y'all keep listening, because this conversation should give you a hint as to where you're going. You know, we will not take you down the road and leave you right there.
Yes.
You know, we wouldn't do it. But independence, dependence, interdependence, red, white, and black boy.
Yeah.
So, Jen, let's end this being dollar savvy, and let's ask people to keep listening to this show. We'll get us out of this situation. Good. Yes, Jennifer. The issue of we celebrating independence, but for us, it is dependence and interdependence all wrapped in one. And we started that conversation. Everything is money is at the base of everything. But money is needed also to take care of ourselves. So let's go talk about this in the being in tune section. Good. I think, Jennifer, when people say self-care, and the first thing we have to recognize, and I think this is the hardest thing, and this is the good thing about the financial is that the salary is cut off and you go on pension or something else. So there's no if or buts. But you see where self-care is concerned, this self is the ego. You have a physical corpus
Yeah.
that you have to take care of. So that's your skin, your face, your nails, your muscles and stuff. You have an internal system, whether it is your blood pressure, your cholesterol, the obesity, all those kinds of things. But then you also have, you know, we talk about mind, body, and soul, and you had a program,
Yeah.
but you have your mind, your soul, your well-being, your thinking, which nobody can put any sauce on or any
Yeah.
cream on, and there can't be surgery for it. And when we talk about self-care, we again have to drop the routines and how we looked at self-care from the second act, if we are to be independent, because it is in this area of self-care that I think we can be independent, because we can make the choice. We can make choices about, all right, how are we taking care of our bodies? You're right.
Yeah.
What are you doing in that expensive gym subscription? When the road is, and even if the road is not there, you take up some bottles, you take up a strap, and you do something into it.
And I must add, Terri-Ann, during this COVID, you have so many online programs that free.
Exactly. So taking care of the body, it is we have to get some discipline in the mind and realize that we have control over two things. As Maria Elias, one of our associates, said, it's how much you move and what you put into this mouth of yours. What you eat and how you move, and you will take care of your body. And if we want to be victims of obese comorbidity or hypertensive or high cholesterol or kidneys, and if we don't want to be proactive now and say we could stop doing some things and start doing things, we could let our bodies go, you know. The other area that we can be very independent, but it's harder, it's the mind. Because Jennifer, there is so much pressure and influence. And we just came out of a second act where it was also competitive and keeping up and matching with this one. And how do you break that habit of following a group in terms of getting your mind straight? Because if we don't take control of our mind and claim our independence, knowing what's best for us, very often we hear people making decisions and they say, talk God. They talk God. When you really look at it, it's not God. You're following somebody. You're following somebody.
You have to be careful how you're being influenced and what driving you, you know?
You know, many of us are not honest. Honest when we feel pressured to make a decision, eat in a certain way, drink in a certain way, move or not move, dress in a certain way. We feel that to have a skin and body and the barbers. Some people pay $200 to cut their hair. This man. Some women pay $900 to color their hair. I understand why at that stage, but if you don't have the resources to do it now, it's not that you're going to look like a rag, but there are other ways that you can explore to get the same effect. And if you don't check your mind and ask yourself, why am I making this decision? Who am I trying to please? Who am I trying to imitate? Or is this a decision I would have made in my previous life and I'm continuing? Is the consequence of not being in that place or wearing that outfit or looking the same today as the consequence may have been? Because Jennifer, you know, as an insurance agent, you have to drive a certain kind of car. Is it
those are the days? You know, it is definitely a discipline at this stage in life to be independent, Terri-Ann. We have to be disciplined. So it's no longer how we thought before. Remember, I said I thought I always felt I'm very independent woman. Now I reach the stage, you ask yourself, are you really independent? Nope. It's a whole new meaning for independence now.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. But I know that, and the thing is, we have to be independent and not be mere followers. But probably
Yeah.
there's a concept of interdependence where we can now be our brother's keepers
Yeah.
and get support to do some things. But that's for another area. But the other area that we talked about when we talked about our self-care, and I think this is so important. Now we talked about the body, we talked about the mind,
Yeah.
and the thing that drives us is soul. Because not being on the second act, you now have to create meaning and purpose for your
Yeah.
life.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, then you will be caught being the grandma in the middle of the disco. Don't make sense.
Yep.
Or you'll be trying to climb scaffoldings when you don't have a good sense of balance. You have vertigo and you're making a fool of yourself, literally. What is your purpose? And now, because your purpose is not focused on the children, or it is not focused on climbing the ladder in the job, or having the best house in the block, or having the best manicured lawn, or being the best dresser, so on. Some of us may have a struggle finding our purpose and finding our soul. And at the end of the day, just as we say, it starts with your money, but at the end of the day, the other bookend, would you agree, Jennifer, to get everything in perspective and in terms of really making decisions that are really focused on our center? If our souls, if we don't understand who this human being is and what our values are and what is important to us, independence is going to always be a mirage.
Yeah, you're saying that, Terri-Ann, and immediately I thought about, and we talk about this a lot, living the truth and being authentic. And I see this time, this is when we have to do that. When you talk about the soul, this is it. Because if you don't know your purpose, if you're not being truthful, and you're still living this false life, if I may say that, still believing that, okay, you, as we say, you're in the second act and you're doing all those things, we have to look at things that we have to release. Because when I thought again, changing the meaning of independent, I feel to be independent, you have to release. You have to be able to release a lot of things and say, yes, this is who I am now. This is the authentic me. And I think in doing that, if you may say, you find your soul, this is who I am. This brings meaning to my life at this stage. And we keep saying, and I keep happening, moving forward next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Depending on what age you are at this stage.
Now, I don't for a minute underestimate the huge challenge that is. Because
yes.
Jennifer, our generation, I always say, and we've said this many times here, has been the first to be allowed to really try to be whatever we want to be and be the best at it as we could. And for both men and women, our lives have been defined by our environments, by ambitions that our parents passed on to us that were not only ambitions, they were responsibilities. Some of us had no choice but to be a certain kind of person. A lot of pressure. And now the cruel truth is that as you leave that second act stage, which defined your world, and you are going into this third phase where all of the supports that existed in that second act are not there. And you have to build your own life. You have to build your own. You don't have a toolkit. You don't have a map. You don't have a guidance plan. And here the world is not even telling you. The world has abandoned you. And you have to look forward and try to create something new. And what we're probably telling a lot of people to do, and this is quite separate from whatever religious practice that you have upheld over the past years,
Yeah.
is to truly go in and find yourself.
Yeah.
And for many people, that is going to be a daunting task. But we really and truly believe that if we are to survive as our own people, being relevant and independent, and knowing how to choose when we are dependent or interdependent, it must start with a consciousness of who you really are and what you really want out of the next 30 years. And that sounds so easy. What do you want as a 50-year-old by the time you're 60? As a 60-year-old by the time you're 70? As a 70-year-old by the time you're 80? And an 80-year-old, you want to be able to go into your last 10 or 15 years in a certain way. If you approach those stages with a lie or something that is just not true, money would be the least of our problems.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And I would even say, for me, this is our field. I mean, we coach people, we talk a lot about, planning and transitioning, etc. And even with all the tools I have, it's just not easy. So you have to be very flexible. That's why I said too, and even talking now, I see independence meaning that being flexible and being able to release and create new pictures. We have to redesign our lives as we go along. I think it is continuous work.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have it static. We shouldn't think, well, this is how I want to be, and I'm not shifting from that.
Yeah. And what we have to realize, and again,
we don't have all the answers, let me put it that
we're in a new world, a new stage.
Yes.
What we have to do is use our experience to help us to think through and be realistic about what is required, and to know when we are trying to copy what was, and go forward. It has to be different, and it's not going to be less than. It could be better, or it will be as good as. And that's so important as we think about taking care of ourselves and being in tune.
Yes.
So Jennifer, what a journey. We talked about being dollar savvy. We talked about the money. We talked about being in tune. And we have to find solutions, and viewers, Connections 50 Plus will provide you with solutions. So let's check out our final segment, being a tribe. I think it unlocks a lot of mysteries. So Jennifer, independence, dependence, interdependence. Is there anything our tribe can do?
I would say yes, Terri-Ann, this is the mode I'm in. It's really a transition. And I have been, I'm very attracted to articles. Every article I see about, well, I have to say the elderly now, different stage of life. I would read because, and for what we do also, that we can pass on information. And I have been seeing a lot, some situations, some may be applicable to us in Trinidad on this side, some may not. but where our age group, after leaving the workplace and even living in, let's say, a dream home or whatever,
emptiness, but after the
yeah,
trend.
deciding, listen, you know what? We need to scale down. We need to scale down. So you have, I've seen those and I'm just using that. And there's a whole article about it where people using the, what you call it, like the motorhomes. They have the car, like a caravan setup.
Tiny house movement.
Yeah, and they
Tiny
move
house
into, they actually move from one district to the other, and they have their spaces there for them. But bringing it home to locally, I can, and I think it's already happening though. It's already happening here, where you have developers creating that type of setup where they may have, set up a whole, I wouldn't say village, but the townhouse setup where you create that space for us, our age group, that you can sell your home and buy a smaller house where it's much more comfortable. Maybe you move from your 4-bedroom or whatever, or decide to move in community living, but among like-minded people where you have all the facilities available to you. And they do that a lot, as I said, North America, Europe, they have it a lot there. And it is happening down here. And whereas before, our thinking maybe, as I keep saying, our dream house, and we living in this big house and a family, but you have to face reality that it's no more. We can't climb those stairs again if you had this 2-story. We can't be mowing lawn or paying to maintain, and all these things. So one of the solutions I see, and I could see it for myself, is moving into community, that sort of community living where you have friends around, like-minded, everybody looking like you, walking like you, being pushed around if it comes to that. But, in a community where you will feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And if it is not affordable for some, because it wouldn't be, it would be where it may take all your savings or retirement money every month. But you can even do that on your own, if you own your own home, you can decide to do some renovations and have it done like that, where you may still have company, so it could be a 3-family home, it could be a 2-family home. And I'm talking actually about us, the 5.8G tribe, actually thinking differently like that, where you wouldn't feel lonely, because you're talking about the empty nesters. You wouldn't feel lonely if you can no longer drive or can afford to maintain a car. Within a community like that, you would have drivers of others, come together. It is all about now, Terri-Ann. Well, let's just say now, but I'm seeing in the future, which might be now for me, but sharing, learning to build that tribe around you, to make it much easier.
Actually, this is very much the kind of economy that the youths have developed, where you have shared assets, and it is out of that Uber has arrived, that Airbnb has arrived. You have all aspects of life, even some instances in terms of kitchens, restaurants being no longer your diners and so on. It's not like an event restaurant. It's like, that's where I eat, So the whole notion of sharing the assets that you have and using the best skill. And you talked about many people, and I think of many older people, for some reason, they're not letting go of this home.
That was a dream for years, They dreamt about that.
So on. And there are so many of us older, especially heading into the latter stages, the 70 to 80-year-olds, and even outside of the 5.8G, the 80 to 90-year-olds, who are in the old neighborhoods. And you have the communities, your old communities. Once the community was established in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, bet your life, you go there right now, and it's a lot of seniors living in homes on their own. What's the problem with if three who sort of live in an area get together and say everybody live in one house and rent out the other two houses, and that's your income coming in? What's wrong with that? You still have your home. You still have your
Terri-Ann,
home.
they would look at, remember, you were talking, and I agree with you, but I'm just saying, I'm seeing they're being hesitant to do that because they are thinking, you know, you want to hold on, remember,
Yeah, and I'm going past
holding
that.
on to their things and they don't
am-
want to let go.
I am
So-
going past that, because if you don't do it,
Then
you
you end up
likely
being,
will end up in a medical emergency, a financial emergency, or some other kind of emotional, because dementia is going to come. Okay,
yeah.
all kinds of things are going to happen, and we have to. I know the hold on, and my house, and I'm saying in a case like this, you may not sell a house and buy another house.
Yeah.
If you live in a community and there are 4 houses in the area with 4 single people or 3 people and 1 couple, everybody move into one house and rent out the others, and that provides a stream of income. If we continue holding on and not recognizing that the key to our future deep independence rests in the tribe, we will only see it when it is too late. And somebody's had a bad accident, a bad illness, financial ruin, and you're there, and the children or whoever you thought would be rescuing you live in far off lands and are now in a post-COVID world catching their nenen to survive and cannot help.
And let me just share this quickly. I have a friend who I remembered, her uncle's about 82, and he lived alone. His nephew was helping out, and nephew felt it's too much for him. And my friend was most, you know, she was very concerned about it, them putting him in a home and this sort of thing. Anyway, there is this very beautiful place. They have 6, they're only taking men, 6. Each room self-contained beautifully. And then they have a big dining area and everything. And he was put there. She wasn't sure where it was until I went with her when they took him in. That man is so happy. Listen to me. They have, of course, when he was on his own all the way, but he was still very thing. So he did his own cooking and his nephew supervised. But Terri-Ann,
it's stressful.
When she visited, listen to me, any cards, they arrange to take them, whatever going on, the steel band, whatever concert, who want to go, they taking the, and he has been so happy, you know, when she does visit, enough much time to talk, you know, because the others waiting on him.
Yes, you're keeping my back.
When you see what the cricket, and I found that was so fantastic. Small numbers, beautifully kept grounds. Everything is beautiful. You have the help around.
Jennifer, that is easy to achieve if we get together. And
so that's why I recall that, because he gave up his home, but when I say give it up, that was helping pay
exactly
for where he is.
Yes,
you know, able to rent it out and so we have to start thinking like that, you know. And as we started to talk here on it, I recall that situation, and yeah.
So I would say, because I know we have to go on to another section that is very important for us, that as we speak about our independence for the 5.8G, think about it. How you felt when you got up this morning, when you got off the bed. It was not how you felt 30 years ago. So we have to maintain our independence, but that is going to require us to understand when we are to be dependent and others have to come in and do stuff for us, and when most critically we are to be interdependent, understanding that working together with our tribe whatever that tribe is, we can do so much more. So
Definitely. Yes.
continue being a tribe. Okay, so Jennifer, this is our last segment, and we talked about independence, and of course we have a way forward. But first, we have to thank our repeat of our sex and sexual health forum. It was wonderful. So people, just listen to the feedback. Just listen to the feedback.
It was amazing. Very well done.
Yes. Yes.
You know, even at age 76, I learned quite a lot. You
found that this has been really, really informative. There's so much that has been revealed by Onika that, you know, dispels a lot of misinformation and taboo that we have been accustomed to, you know, from the time that we that we are small.
Very good. Very good. Very good. I could recommend her.
You know, I look at it, a younger version of me might have been much better. My relationship, everything might have been much better, you know, with things like these. But, you know, as man, the ego thing, now you always feel you know everything and you could conquer everything.
Right.
That's what it is about. However, I like what she spoke about. It was really, really enlightening to me. So it was great.
This has been an eye-opener for me. At first I was, what's this all about? You know, kind of in a shock zone, but it didn't take me long to really appreciate what was happening and to not only learn a lot, but to enjoy.
One of the best. She is the best. Monica is the best. And I want to thank Jennifer and Terry for being so open and so honest and so real with this thing. And bringing the 50 plus into the reality of what sex is. Because when we were younger, it was taboo. But now we're older and we're feeling our feelings and we're wanting more. Thank you so much. This was the best thing.
You know, Jennifer, in all of our, we've had the Emancipation series and we've had different conversations. We've had Frank Dolly, we've had Ian Jeffers. We started with Gregory Maguire, all right? We had Maureen Bowen. We had so many of us. And then we had our wonderful concert. And then fantastically, we had the young people coming in to talk about their whole view of identity. And then we had the elders starting. And the common thread through all of those presentations has been, these are necessary conversations. Just to have a place where we, the 5.8G, can sit and think through, talk through with someone who has knowledge and talk through the issues that we have in our mind and we just not working through. So we have started conversations. We realize conversations are what we need. And we understand that not every conversation can be had on a Wednesday afternoon in a 5.8G session. So Jennifer, what are we going to do?
We are going to start conversations on the third stage. All right. But what we're going to do, we have decided on the last Friday of each month, and we are starting from the month of September, the last Friday, September.
Republic
where
Day.
where we're going to have small group forums. So we are inviting you. What we're going to do, we're going to send out our calendar prior with the team, what we're going to discuss, and we would have an expert with us on that particular topic area. So for instance, as we just did, you did sex and self-care. Like we can use Onika, it won't be the same topic, but it will be on different things that based on what you all mentioned and based on what is mentioned at the forums that we would have, it will be the same, or 2 hours, maybe just about 2 hours on Zoom, where we come together and we have open discussion, of course, a lot
with like-minded people.
Yeah. So we are inviting you all because, as Terri-Ann said, and the feedback we have gotten, that we conversations, is it? Without us coming together and having these discussions, I don't think we can really move forward, living the quality life that we want to live on to that stage. So we want you to look out for it. We're going to send and tell you, as I said, you will be able to book on your calendar, block that Friday, the last Friday of each month. Know the topic. We're going to come for 2 hours for a very small fee because we are having experts on.
Yes.
And it would be really informative, a professional forum, So we will let you know what the fee would be like, what the fee would be, and also the topic and who would be the facilitator, the expert, the professional on that particular forum.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot to look forward to.
Yes, because so often in this forum, we talk to you and then we go, it's pre-recorded. So we interact on Facebook or we interact on YouTube. And then some of you on Gaia looking and talking to the television. But you have also your views. So we are really, really looking forward. And we think it is so serious. We're going to be discussing issues that really matter to how we build a quality life on this that stage. And we are going to be dealing with money. We're going to be dealing with our minds, our bodies, and our souls while we build it. So, Jennifer, I am so excited that we can evolve to this aspect. And when I listen to the feedback from participants, even the feedback from people from the concert, at the end of each of our presenters, people call us and they say, this is so needed and they want to participate. So this is our open mic session, open forum where we can get together and really start having those conversations that allow us to talk about, and you ask questions and get answers. You'll be able to get answers from the experts to help get our legacies right, to make sure that we can't change things that happened in the past, but we can try to make sure that you get the advice and the professional help needed to move forward. Even thinking of how we live as community. How you start, we may have real estate developers on to talk about people to talk about money, people to talk about intimate relationships. We know Nika very well. We have Gregory is willing to come back on to let's talk about how can we.
And I mean, all our presenters have, they have been so excited about, being on as volunteer that they will come back on. And what I would like to ask also, that you all please also send and let us know any particular topic you want us to chat on. Please feel free to let us know and we could include it.
Yes. So I think that's how I feel about my independent status right now as I get ready to go on to the second stage. Yes, I am going to be 60. Don't call me any 50-year-old. I may look great, but I'm going to be 60 and I'm happy about it. Not needing to hide it. But I am beginning, Jennifer, to really see that I can't make decisions now as I did before. It's different. My children are adult. I don't have to do some of the things, and I have to think of what is my life going to be like. And you know what? There is no template. There's no template. The templates are foreign, and they assume that I have a ton of money, and it's really not. It can't work. We have to create our own, and that's why I am really proud of what we're doing here.
Good. So for independence, as I said, I'm no longer saying I'm independent. I'm real. I'm authentic. I'm living my truth. I am really continuing on this journey to enjoy life the way I want to. Yeah. So independence is for Trinidad and Tobago. But it's really nice chatting here, and hope you all had a great day yesterday, and start to think what does independence mean to you, and how are you going to be independent from now straight on the third act stage, next 20, 30 years.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so we say bye for now.
Bye.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.